How's the lighting? How's the scene?
Good, mate.
Yeah.
Paris backyard.
Yeah, the parents, the family home.
Not the bachelor pad. That's the next one.
That is the next one. We've been here before, but at the slightly different scene. I thought we'd just mix it up a little bit with the frangipanis in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here we are, coming back at you. 4 episodes.
Seven.
That's it.
7.
Yeah. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good. It's a lovely sunny day in Perth, and the weather's getting nice now before the heat sets in, and we're entering the final countdown, the final phases of prep before we get over to Two Worlds in 2 weeks today that we leave. When the video comes out, it'll be less than 2 weeks. But yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Sky couldn't get any bluer today, mate. It is absolutely stunning.
And flashbanged.
And I've been absolutely flashbanged. That's why I got the sunnies on. The sun coming in is pretty brutal, but it's all for the scene and it's all for the viewer. But yeah, things are tracking pretty well. And 2 weeks ago, and it's in this final push that personally myself, I start just really focusing on one moment at a time, one session at a time, one day at a time, and one lovely little sit down out the back here with you at a time, mate. It's kind of cute. But we thought that it's very fitting with the direction that our training and structure is going towards, that we'd talk about the final push today, the last little phase of our training before we take off and head over to World Championships, as we start to narrow our focus and become very specific with the efforts that we're doing on the track, and as we enter full taper. We've been having some conversations about some of the external noise and external distractions / challenges that have been happening for the both of us, and I guess the magic bullet would be how we completely recognize and have an awareness that it's there, but then, as we've been talking about this week, be able to take those metaphorical curtains and close them off. And while there might be an alien invasion, zombie apocalypse, or a giant storm rolling in, blissfully unaware, you shut those curtains and just focus on what we need to focus on, which is going fast. And we wanted to kind of go into a little bit deeper around some of those topics today.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even just as you were speaking then, and we're kind of talking about what we're going to discuss today, when we've done these videos in the past, or the last several ones, it's like we already have kind of semi-discussed something as the weeks have kind of been going on. And I think that kind of just shows the difference in phases and where we're both at individually within this period of time, that, you know, we probably were looking outwards a lot more at things externally and seeing things and picking up on topics or like things that's a cool thing we could talk about. We might see more, whereas as we're kind of getting closer to racing, we've kind of just become more and more internalized and focus on ourselves, that when we do go to sit down, we're kind of like, what do we talk about?
What are we talking about? Because we're not zooming out quite as much at the moment, are we?
No, we are focusing very much on ourselves and the job at hand. I think it is actually quite fitting that we do sit down and discuss the final push, and I guess that preparation phase into what we're preparing for in a few weeks, being World Championships, and how life will continue to go on, but then how do you kind of, again, what can you manage on your plate? You got all these plates kind of spinning. It's like, what do you prioritize, and where can you manage your time and effort? And I think as we get closer, it very much does become internal and a selfish endeavor in some regard. And it's like, okay, what's the best performance and recovery and sleep strategy? Socializing kind of goes out the window, and avoiding, large groups and stuff. And that's just all things because you don't want to get sick. And there's just so many things that you kind of just block out. And as you said, just close the curtain, the doomsday curtains. And that's a future Luke problem. We'll deal with that when we finish racing.
10-inch steel curtains.
Yeah, literally. Because even like people asking questions, like, we've got some things coming up after Worlds, some like, it's not social events, but just media obligations and some things for the documentary kind of coming up. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, I'll deal with that after racing. We'll work those logistics out after racing. There's a lot of exciting things kind of on the horizon, but for now it's like, all right, the goal is here, so we need to put time and attention.
Well, they're kind of going to continue bubbling away, but it's like you can turn your attention to that after we've done the thing, So I guess like I'm going to frame the question like this to you in a way that is going to try and make it a little bit more specific, rather than the broad conversations about the final push. For you as an athlete, the final push, and I guess you might be able to reflect the question back to me. The final push, what does success look like for you in, say, those last 3 weeks? Since we last spoke in front of the camera and on the microphone, if you could say that you've had a successful last little push through the taper, what does that look like for you specifically?
I think from where I was the last video to now, definitely just in terms of my own head, not being so caught up in my emotions and the overthinking and the constant thinking. Like I saw a very short clip of Matthew McConaughey literally discussing overthinking. He's like, just quiet down your thoughts per hour, per minute, just quiet them down a bit more. And I was like, oh, that's pretty, for someone that's an eternal overthinker, or just overthinking, but also thinking a lot. And as I probably mentioned a little bit in the last one, kind of being a bit too, not ambitious, but just too much want for certain things. It kind of then can go too far and go that negative area. Whereas for me, the last couple of weeks, and particularly what we're heading into now, it's kind of like the work's being done. So it's just trusting in the processes and all those kinds of things. And that's actually something I did think about too, and want to kind of maybe just get your opinion on. We've discussed a lot around this, and I had this conversation with one of my old coaches the other day as well. It was around, we've discussed it plenty of times before, which is still the same idea. What the question that you asked is like the self-belief versus the evidence. And it's like, generate self-beliefs, overrated, generate evidence. But then my thoughts have kind of gone to, well, then what do you do when you don't have the evidence? You need to go back and operate on self-belief. Yet there is still the evidence to suggest, and I know from my own thing, that my own experience in being an athlete for such a long period of time, that race day is race day, and that's when the performance will come out. And that's when we will be fast, and we usually are fast, given historically that's what we've done. That's what I did on my own in my own single bike career. And that's the whole saying that I had with my old team back in the day called "One day you're fast."
Well, I was going to say, if you didn't say it, I was going to say it.
Yeah. So one day you're fast. And like, to me, that's where things kind of go back towards, is just reminding myself of that. Yes, it doesn't mean that it's easy in the moment, and I do struggle with that. But however, the last literally 2 weeks, I've kind of been able to really reflect on where I'm getting in my own way and what I'm causing for myself. So just learning to kind of step back and just accept things for as they are and as they show, but just be the better version of myself in those training sessions. And I think since doing that, we are seeing a lot of good things, and we are heading in that right direction, which is in a way evidence generating, which is what we've discussed a lot of. But it's just more just, okay, more so just enjoy the process in this final phase. Like, it's, the work's being done. We've been working hard for like
a long time.
Like, it's been a very
lot
long,
of weeks.
It's been a very long prep.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we're on the back end of it now, where I know that we get into that environment in Brazil with the teammates wearing the green and gold next week and all that stuff, and just those little bits of small little dopamine
Those
hits
little
that
boosts,
you get, kind of then will head in the right direction. So that's for me, where it's like, okay, just take a step back. I can't really control too much other than my output, and that's all I focus on, is just, did I go as hard as I possibly can? Yes, I did. Great, that's a success.
Yeah.
Today, the numbers might not be there. I'm not looking at the numbers. I know that they will come on race day, historically, given my history.
Yeah. So it sounds like that one day you're fast ethos has been a bit of an anchor point for you over the last couple of weeks.
Years.
Years, but more specifically in the last couple of weeks since we last filmed, because I'd say that where your mind at now is slightly different to where it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything other than that you've been able to anchor to and build on, other than that one day you're fast ethos?
No. Not that I can think of at the moment.
No. It's good.
What about you, mate?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the final push is about, like I said just a moment ago, being able to ground myself to the moment. And you've always said, be where your feet are. And it's like, for me, practicing that mindfulness and awareness of where I am in space and time and energy and all these things, to be very specific to the moment. Like, your current self has no challenges, right? Because it's only future you that has to deal with the things that you're thinking about. And if you're like, anxiety comes from the thoughts of the future and the past, but not the present. So it's like, how can you always be in the present to be able to maintain a really calm approach to everything? Because if looking at the big picture of wearing the green and gold and representing the country at a massive event like that is huge. And if we were looking forward to that, the thoughts and emotions might be very different. So for me, success is being able to stay grounded. But that's not just the final push though. That's kind of been an anchor point for me in the last probably 2 years, I would say, as like our competitions have picked up and building, like entering the national team and everything like that. My anchor point has pretty much always been staying grounded, because it's the same during like a general prep phase for me. Is like the training's so hard in those phases, but if you can take it one session at a time, it's very different to looking at, we got 8 weeks of this bullshit, you know? So it's like being able to take it that one session at a time. So I guess like it has me thinking now that success isn't anything different to what I normally do. So trying to keep the processes the same through the whole preparation, even in this final push, that have got us to this point. Because there's processes that have actually got us to this point and got us on the team that have worked. So we may as well continue them, and then not letting the external distractions and noise get in the way, because it very easily can.
Yeah.
And being able to say no to those opportunities that might be coming up around racing, whether it's media or going out with friends and avoiding big crowds and things like that. There's a lot of sacrifices that we have to make, but it's to try and layer those processes in through the whole season that have worked really well for us to be able to get to this point.
Yeah, it's like don't change, like if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. However, then I think from like me and my perspective as well, and like even just thought a bit more about what we were kind of discussing just then. I think I mentioned to you during the week, like, what did I say? I was like trust. Like the trust versus companionship side of things. I think the last video we had, like just the bond and relationship that we have as well has kind of been able to help ground myself and probably the both of us in terms of what we're trying to work towards, which is the same thing, but then just kind of being able to lean and use each other as a bit of a support network when it's not too much for the other person, then kind of creates that environment of safety that you can kind of open up and then not have to be stuck in your head thinking, and you can kind of like, you just know that it's a safe space, which then can help get you back to the path that you want. And then, like you said, it's just being present, because oftentimes when you are in that space, it's rumination, which is forward thinking. It's not in the present moment, what am I dealing with? It's, well, what am I thinking this is going to then lead to down the path? And like, how does that then negatively spiral and cascade? It's like, okay, well, what are we doing right now? What are we focusing on? That should be the goal. That should be the focus. And as you said, being present, be where your feet are. And oftentimes I find my mind not where my feet are. They could be a million miles away, but it's like just learning to go, okay, I need to
Mine's in Brazil already.
Yeah, it's already in Brazil, post-Brazil, we've already raced, and who knows what's happened after that. But like, it's just, as you said, like be present. And I had this not exact same, but very similar conversation with my coach, and we were discussing that, because I was going back watching some really old footage I filmed on my camera years ago, getting some footage for a mate for his own personal doco. And it kind of reminded me of all the good times. I was chatting with my coach. I was like, it's funny that you've called me this week when I was literally just reflecting on like our time back together, 8 years ago. And he's like, what did he say? He's like, the past is fun to spend some time there, but not all your time. And I kind of thought about that too. It's the same when it comes to the future. It's like, the past is immutable. The future is unwritten. The present is now. For this present moment was once a dream that will become a reality of the past. It's like just learning to be grounded in the moment, because this is the thing that you had worked so hard towards. And I think that's where I was last year when it came to Paris, and then kind of leading into this Worlds. It's like, okay, we've worked so hard to get to Worlds. So just being present when we're there on the road to that point will then make that moment feel a lot longer. And then once you're kind of done, you can appreciate the moment much more, as opposed to constantly thinking, what's next, what's coming up.
And that's links into what you're saying about the next couple of weeks, where it's like, we're going to have those little moments of boosts of energy, like putting the green and gold on. There was a athlete in the Para Australian team who wrote a post last night, and one of the pieces really stuck out with me. They said that wearing the green and gold is a privilege, and it's something that they'll never take for granted. And I was like, whoa, that's like, it just hits really well, because through those moments we can stay grounded in putting the green and gold kit on for the first time in quite a while for us, say next week in the lead in, and that'll just be a huge moment once again. And it can either be a big positive moment for us, or it isn't. You know what I mean? It's like we can either look at it like that and go, this is awesome, or we can we can not look at it like that and just be like, oh, it's just a skin suit. Like, I think we can have a lot of pride and privilege in certain moments through this journey, like getting to Dubai with the team and linking up with everyone. To me, that's like a pretty big moment, but for some it might not be.
Yeah.
And they might not feel the same way. To me, where I feel that like overwhelming sense of pride and privilege being surrounded by this incredible team of individuals, each person's journey that they've been on to be there, it's just so special, and being able to like celebrate and stay grounded in those moments to kind of help us towards the big goal, which is racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes back to, I guess, the story that you tell yourself around the situation too, and kind of like how each individual thing can kind of shape its own way. And it could be either you tell the story before or after the fact, and will make sense of the situation. And I think for us, putting on that green and gold, the effect that we had last year when we put it on for the first time, that training session was like, those couple training sessions we did were really, really good. They were really high quality, and it just generated more of that evidence that we'd been discussing. I think we've intentionally been patient and waiting to kind of put it on in this lead up to know that, okay, it is a privilege. We can wear the skin suit every single day, but then it loses its meaning. And I actually, funnily enough, I actually did some researching on like the hedonic treadmill, which is basically the pursuit of pleasure. But then your baseline levels of happiness kind of always revert back to a normal level. So like constantly chasing materialistic things and whatever else. If you win the lotto or buy a brand new car, like for the brief moment, it makes you very, very happy. But then over a period of time, like your baseline levels of happiness kind of return to normal. I think the way that I view the Australian skin suit is, you put that on closer to racing, because if you train it all the time, it's like, it's the same. You just get used to it.
Yeah,
I wear this, colours all the same.
Loses its meaning a little bit.
It does start to lose the meaning. Yeah, not massively, but it does. Whereas when you go, okay, we get to put this on closer to racing, it kind of, I think that also then flicks, that potentially will flick a switch as well for particularly for me, and maybe for yourself as well next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that, we bounce off each other as a successful team in doing that. And being able to have those conversations around those little moments for the both of us, and being able to share that experience together, and it not being like a solo journey as well. Like it had me thinking about, even after the last time that we filmed, like it almost brought us closer as we entered into that main phase towards competition, because like you were going through some challenges in the moment, and through filming and being able to talk about it, you were kind of tiptoeing around it. And it was like, it's almost like we needed to keep filming after, because that's where the magic happened. When the camera stopped, it was like, I asked the question, I was like, is there more that we need to talk about around these topics? And then it just like blossomed into a further conversation, which then brought us closer together, and has now sent us, I believe, another little catalyst moment that can kind of send us on this trajectory and start to build towards everything. So.
Yeah, I do fully agree with that. And I will also say too that it comes back to what we were discussing at the very beginning around the curtains, that those kinds of conversations I do want to have, or be able to have in person or on camera, to kind of share that. But then there's also an element of, like I said, you kind of will discuss on the fact after. There's almost like ignorantly bliss for this time of like not suppressing, but there is an element of suppressing stuff, and like, again, just closing the curtains on that. So for us to have that moment off camera, like it stemmed into that, which was really good and helpful for myself. And we can, and probably will, discuss that after, same as like we did after Paris, when we kind of actually really sat down and realized how great the challenges we faced actually impacted us. Whereas in the moment, we're kind of just like, it's all good. Like, we're heading in the right direction. Like, we're working through things, but we're kind of discussing things, and, but we didn't truly dive into it until after the fact. I think that's one of those things that we would do after we've raced, because we've still got a job to do, but it's also important to acknowledge that stuff. And I think that's where I've taken a lot of time these last couple of weeks, just to really acknowledge why and how I'm feeling these things, and then leaning on external support as well, like yourself and my psych as well. And had some very good conversations with him, and even just the perspective shift from the start of the year to now, in terms of this emotions itself and what's kind of driving it. Because as I said to him, the emotion is the same, the catalyst for it is different. It's been good. Pushing hard.
The final push.
I reckon
I reckon as we close out this video, you try and do like a curtain effect.
The curtain effect. I can. I probably can.
Find like a curtain to close in, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll maybe be in Brazil by the next time we film.
I think we'll be in Brazil.
Yeah.
We'll be in Brazil.
Hopefully, it's a better scene than just the hotel room scene. Hopefully, we can find somewhere nice, whether that's at the track or wherever. But yeah,
We do. All right.
that's it.
See you soon.
See you in a couple of weeks' time on the other side of the world, most likely. The final push.
That's it. Good job.
Yep.